Humanism, the word, the idea, the belief system, has been around a long time. To ask where humanism came from is to follow a thread of human inquiry, rebellion, and hope across continents, cultures, and centuries.
Ancient humanism was a rebellious idea. The idea that humans could solve problems themselves rather than waiting for divine intervention. That we should be concerned with human welfare more than pleasing the gods. Was a challenge to the way many ancient societies were structured. In the United States, Enlightenment humanism found fertile ground. Thomas Jefferson, a humanist and deist, created his own Jefferson Bible, using a scalpel to cut out passages about magic and miracles, retaining only the moral and ethical teachings.
Benjamin Franklin was captivated by scientific inquiry and civic virtue. James Madison, architect of the Constitution, embedded the principle of liberty of conscience into the foundation of American government. But perhaps the most humanist voice of the founding era was Thomas Paine, whose Age of Reason openly attacked organized religion and argued for a morality base of reason, justice, and the common good, and whose common sense pamphlet incited the American Revolution by demanding freedom and self-government for our nation.
With the advancement of science, new humanist voices emerged. Speakers and thinkers like John Stuart Mill and Robert Ingersoll, the great agnostic. In the U.S., electrified audiences with speeches defending science, free thought, and secular ethics in the late 19th century.
And Garlin Spencer, a Unitarian minister and socialist, argued for a social ethic rooted in both reason and compassion.
But it wasn't until the 20th century that humanism organized itself as a modern movement. In 1933, a group of liberal ministers, activists, and scholars, including philosopher John Dewey, published the first humanist manifesto.
Their goal was to give a voice to the millions of Americans who no longer believed in traditional religion, but wanted a common belief system focused on human needs and human potential. It was a bold document, declaring religion to be a human creation and ethics to be grounded in human experience.
Followers of humanism continued meeting in person and trading ideas in a publication called The Humanist, which is still published today.
They founded American Humanist Association in 1941 to be a home for freethinkers, scientists, and social reformers alike.
Yet, for much of its history, organized humanism in America reflected a narrow slice of society that began to change slowly and not without struggle, thanks to the work of humanists from marginalized communities who expanded the movement's moral imagination.
A. Philip Randolph, labor organizer and architect of the 1963 March on Washington, proudly called himself a humanist. He helped to draft one of the most humanist manifestos and showed that humanism could be a foundation for justice. James Baldwin, through unaffiliated formerly, embodied a deep, lived humanism. He rejected the church of his youth, writing that it was when he began to read, not preach, that his faith began to crumble. What replaced it was a fierce, tender belief in human dignity. Harvey Milk, the first openly gay man elected to public office in California, exemplified secular courage in the face of injustice, calling people to organize not around creed, but around shared humanity and pride.
Gwendolyn Brooks, the Pulitzer Prize-winning poet, emphasized kindness and action over belief. For Butterfly McQueen, who famously declared herself free from slavery of religion, and Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who challenged the erasure of Black voices in history and religion. Humanism was a declaration of both intellectual independence and social resistance.
By the early 21st century, humanism had stepped more into a full public life. Encouraged by humanist movement, members of Congress began to openly refer to themselves as humanists. So where did humanism come from?
It came from philosophers and poets, scientists and skeptics, artists and organizers, from anyone who looked at the world and said, we can do better. Not because of what we believe about the afterlife, but because of what we can do for one another in this world.